Hey, I'm Jake, and for this video I wanted to share with you guys a few of my workflow tips that I like to use when I'm trying to make my music. So first things first, let's listen to what we have so far. So we just have a chord progression and a drum sequence. I'm using the EXS24 and we'll talk about the first tip. The first tip is this technique called separate region by note pitch, and it's a custom key command that you can just make for yourself. So in this instance, I have an EXS24 drum kit, one of the factory kits that you can use. And if I press E to open up the piano roll, you'll see that we have hats, snares, and kicks. And I want to separate these into its own file, maybe to arrange or maybe to mix. So let's press Option K. I'll just delete this for now. Option K will bring up your key commands, and it should look something like this. And in the search bar to the right, just click it and type in separate by note pitch. So this will show up, separate MIDI region by note pitch, and click learn by key label. I'm going to use the key command Option N. You can use whatever you want, just make sure you remember it. So now that we have that down, when I press Option N, it now separates. And these are actually not independent channel strip settings. These are independent regions following the same channel strip. It's just been duplicated, so it's kind of like a ghost channel strip. If I press M, for example, it'll mute everything. If I press S, it'll solo everything. So it's not purely separated, it's just separated by MIDI region. If you wanted to work on your arrangement, let's say you duplicated this and you said, I want hats. I don't want hats on the first 8 bars. I want it on the 9th to 16th bar, for example. You can start arranging it this way while still writing all the MIDI notes down originally together. So in order to do that, just left click the region, and instead of pressing M, you can either delete it or just press Control M, and that will solo. That will mute that independent region. If I were to press M here, again, it would mute everything, so just keep that in mind. Now, if you want to bring it back, maybe you want to write more parts, just press T and G, and that should bring up your glue tool. So let's do that again, T and G, and just highlight. Now this icon should pop up, just left click. Make sure you bring it to the top because the top channel strip is the original one. So I'm going to undo. And now we want to bounce this to audio. So I'm going to press Control B, just press Enter, and bounce the 3 tracks. Now to clean this up, first things first, we want to only work with the audio files. So I'm going to press Shift M because when I bounce, now the regions will be muted, and the key command Shift M selects all muted regions. So again, Shift M selects all the muted regions, press delete, and Shift Command Delete. That key command will delete every channel strip that doesn't have a region present. So it's a good way to clean up your tracks, especially if your region gets big and you don't know which part's being used and which isn't. You can just press Shift Command Delete and it'll delete everything that doesn't have a region. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 has to do with track alternatives, and I'm going to demonstrate that. If we play this and decide that we want a different chord progression, you could duplicate or repeat these regions and draw out the parts, but that will make your arrangement look messy. Logic allows you to do something called track alternatives, which allows you to test out different MIDI drawings for your session. So just left click the channel strip where you want a track alternative and press Control Option Command N. And that will make a new region that can be edited. So I'll get my pencil tool, left click, and just fill it in. I'll just color code this. And let's say Control Option Command N. It's empty again, and we'll color this accordingly. And if I press Control Option A, you'll now see that we have 3 corresponding regions. And this allows us to play around with ideas. So the other key command is Control Option Command D, and that just duplicates. This is what I usually use when I'm composing. So Control Option A shows and hides the track alternatives, and if you press Control Option down and up, that will change the track alternative type that's present in the arrangement view. So that is track alternatives, and this is the second tip. Now the third tip has to do with mixing and screen real estate. So if I made quite a few channels and pressed X, which will open up the mixer, you'll notice that we have to scroll left to right quite a bit, and it can be hard to mix when you're trying to finalize your work. So one thing that I like to do when I'm mixing is change my screen real estate, make the most out of it. So I go to System Preferences, and I click Displays, and under Resolution or beside Resolution, I'll click Scaled. You'll see to the right it says More Space, and to the left it says Larger Text. This is essentially smaller and larger. So we want more space, but not too much, because the text will be too small. And now when I click that, you'll notice the difference. So I'm just gonna bring this over here, and I'll show you the difference. Just take a look at the mixer, and when I click more space, now you'll see the difference in screen real estate and the maximum size quite a bit. Now you can really see a lot more in your arrangement view and your mixing view. And then the final tip is a custom key command that I made, which is Control Option Command and the minus. What that does is it hides the grid lines for me. So when I'm arranging, I get distracted pretty easily by the grid lines. So I like to hide them once in a while. So I'm going to press Option K, and in the search bar, I'm just going to type Gridlines. That's my custom key command. Just click Learn Label and put in whatever you want. I like using this when I'm arranging. So these are just 4 workflow tips. I hope they helped, and let me know if you have any questions. Take care.